Good day, everyone. My name is Geraldo Isaacs. I will be taking you through these code-to-code tutorials in this episode, and hopefully in more episodes to come. We'll be looking at creating MQL5 based expert advices. So basically, we'll look at algorithmic implementation of trading strategies. Now, in this lesson, we're going to look at the ADX indicator. And in this lesson, we're gonna basically very briefly look at understanding what the ADX indicator is, and then why we use it for trading, or why you should be using it for trading. And then lastly, we will then look at a working example of a ADX trading system, right? So very simple implementation. Now, the ADX indicator is a directional index, right? That is what the name simply means. It's an average of the directional index. It is used to measure the trend strength on a scale of 0 to 100. It is not used for trend direction detection, identification in that line, right? It's just used to understand or determine the strength of a trend. The ADX contains three buffer values. Number one, when we say the ADX line, we're talking about the ADX main line, which is given a numerical value of 0. And then we have the plus line, which is given a value of 1. And then we have a minus line, which is given a value of 2. Now, when the line, the ADX line, sorry, the main line is giving a value that is 25 and above, we are seeing a strong trend, right? Or that is indicative of a strong trend. When the ADX value, the main line, is below or 20 and below, that means we have entered or are in a weak or range bound market, right? So it's not an uptrend, it's not a downtrend, and it's weak. That's basically what that's telling us. Now, why would we want to trade with the ADX? As I said earlier, we use this indicator to confirm a trend, right? So when the market is moving in a certain direction and your ADX gives you a value of 25 and above, you know, okay, now you're entering in a strong market, right? Whether it's a bullish market or a bearish market, right? So use this as a filter to exclude your algorithm from trading when the market is considered weak. And then secondly, you can use this to determine direction, right? Everything is not 100% when we're looking at trading in general, and similarly, algorithms are also never going to be 100%. So when we are looking at, building crossover algorithms, whether it's MAs or ADX, right? We should still have room to understand that you're looking at a possibility, right? So you're still working with probability regardless. Now, when the plus line is crossing above the minus line, then you know that you're entering a strong bullish market. Or that's how you determine a bullish market, and vice versa when it's reversed, right? And then lastly, so again, the advantage is when the ADX values are low, your algorithm will be excluded from trading in the markets. It might be a good thing, might be a bad thing, but nonetheless, it's for risk management. So you are looking at eliminating or reducing, right, false signals. So that is going to be the advantage of using the ADX. Okay. Now, we are going to jump into the meta quotes editor and then look at creating a, let's create a new project, right? So hopefully you understand how to get to your meta quotes editor. If not, I'll have to create another tutorial for that. But now we are gonna, in our experts folder, we're gonna right click, new project. We are creating a expert advisor from the template. We're just gonna say next. Let's say we're gonna create a new folder, code to code, and then in this folder we're gonna create one called ADX YT EA. Okay, just preference for me. Hopefully you give your expert advisors better names. This is just for me to understand what I'm working on when I come back to it later. Then we just say next, next, next. Gonna close this guy. Now this is your basic skeleton, the basic template, right? And then before we start working on creating expert advisors, we obviously have to create our variables. Okay, we have to create our variables so we know we are working with what type of values we're working with initially, or basically when you're creating an indicator, they use int values. When you're creating the buffer values of those indicators, normally you would use doubles. Okay, now for the ADX, I'm just gonna call it ADX handle like this, and then for the values we're gonna call them ADX line. Okay, then ADX. Okay, so we have our ADX line, and then we're gonna have our ADX plus buffer and our ADX minus buffer. Ideally, you would also have stuff like your input values for the lot size 0.01, your take profit points, say 500, and then your stop loss points 250. Right, okay, yes, and these are also gonna have to need a variable values. So we have the double, and then these are ints. Okay, so you have those. You have your handle for the indicator. We'll be building an ADX. You have your free buffer values for the ADX, right? Remember the ADX has free buffer values. And then now we're gonna create our indicator. So in the onInit function, this is where we're gonna create the indicator and then initialize our variables. Okay. For other systems, you might want to initialize your buffers in functions or in the onTick function. But since this is going to be a very small program, this is what we're going to do. So you can now say, sorry, ADX handle is equals to ADX. We're going to create it for the symbol that the expert advisor is going to be loaded on. We're going to create it for the current period, and then forgotten this. Yeah, and then the period. My goodness, I forgot. Okay, yes. So one more variable we need to create is the period for the ADX that we are looking at capturing. Remember, we are looking at capturing and determining the trend strength over a certain number of candles or bars, right? Now we're gonna basically just say int, or we're gonna also make this an input variable, call it ADX period. Okay, ADX period, and we're gonna make this 14. Okay, and lastly, just say ADX period. Okay, and then we do a check. So ADX is not invalid handle. Oh, actually, we're gonna check if it's an invalid handle, and then we say, we print okay. So I'll get the last error just to tell us what error occurred, and then with that we can try and rectify the problem. Okay, and then here we want to set a series. We have 3 buffer values, so we're gonna set them all here. I'm gonna say ADX line buffer, so true. Okay, so then we have our ADX buffer set, and then in the on tick, we're going to skip this for now. It's not going to be really that necessary. Yeah, and then we want to set we want to start using the buffer, the values, right? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to check we're going to get the copy buffer values for each indicator buffer, right? We have 3. So the first thing we're going to do is say copy buffer. It's for the ADX handle. We are getting the buffer number, no, 0 is for the main line. Remember, we're going to start at position 0, and then we're going to get how many values. We're going to get 2, right? We don't need to get more than that. And then we want to save this buffer values into the ADX line. Okay, and then we'll just copy and paste for the rest. This one is going to be 1 for the minus line, and then 2 for the plus line, right? Let's just confirm that's the case here, right? So 1 for the plus and 2 for the minus. My apologies. So 1 for the plus and 2 for the minus. Okay, then we want to check. We want to also okay, we'll just do this here. I'm gonna say double. We need to get the current ask and bid prices because we want to know what the current price is where we're entering, right? So we're gonna say ask is equals to system info double. We're gonna get the current symbol, and then we want to get the ask price, right? And then similarly, I want to get the bid price. That's a symbol. Info double. Okay, when I get the symbol, I want to get the bid price. Okay, so now we want to establish if the ask price is above the no, okay, no, this is something else I wanted to check. Okay, so we want to firstly check if the ADX line is greater than or equals to 25, right? So that's the first thing we want to establish. So what are we establishing with this? Strong trend, right? Else we said what? It's a weak trend. And we do what? Don't trade, right? So when it's less than 25, we stay out of the market. We don't trade, we don't do anything. Okay, but when it's a strong trend, now we want to first check if ADX, my goodness, ADX plus ADX plus the current ADX plus, right, is greater than ADX minus, right? So we want to establish, are we having a ADX that's higher, right? And since we want to establish a crossover, right? So we have to check, was the previous ADX minus underneath the the plus underneath the minus, and now in the current candle they have switched. Okay, so ADX minus and 1. So if that is the case, we want to trade. So we say, okay, now unfortunately I forgot one more thing. We'll have to include uh, okay, it has to be trade, and then for backward slash trade, and we close that, and then now we can access the class, which is C trade, and create our variable trade, right, or trader. Now we can use this variable, which is an object of this class, inside of our onTick to actually set the trades, right? So we'll say trade trader dot buy, because we are entering buy trades here. The volume we want to do is the lot size, the symbol, which is the current symbol, and then the price, which is the ask price, and then our SL would be now our SL in points. Okay, normally you would do this outside here, so let's do it correctly. So SL points X equals, okay, that's a constant variable, we cannot change that, so we'll have to create a new one. Just call XL SL level, right, which is SL points times points or point. Okay, now we'll have to normalize this, normalize double to the number of digits permitted for this symbol. Okay, so there we have our SL level. Okay, and then we'll also create a TP level then, and then we'll just give it a comment, say trading with my ADX EA. Say buy. Okay, now we will copy that, call it TP points, right? Okay, say bid minus, and then ask plus. Okay, so SL is normally lower than the current level where price is, right? And then TP is higher. Then when you talk about long trades, right, in terms of buy trades, your TP is higher and your SL is lower. So that's what we're doing here. And then we're going to reverse this for sell trades, right? So we are looking at our current plus being lower than our minus, and our previous plus being higher than our minus, right? So this should be the other way around. And now we have our ADX filtering out of weak trends and then checking for buy signals and sell signals. And then now once this is set, let's compile. How many errors do we have? SL level is undeclared. Yes, these ones are undeclared. We will just declare them here. So double SL level and TP level. Okay, now we can actually do that with our global variables. Okay, what else did we miss? Okay. Ah, yes. It has to be the current candle that we are looking at, right? So we are determining at our current position on the chart what is the ADX line value. Okay, now that should give us no errors, no warnings. It's a very basic program. We're declaring some, first we're doing an import for the trade class, so we can create an object which we'll be using for trading. We're creating our indicator handle, we're creating our buffer values, we're creating some global variables and constants. Then we are creating it in the onInit function, right? Instantiating the indicator, checking if it's been created accurately. Then we are setting the buffers, right, to be usable. And then in onTick function, which this currently is not very, but normally you would first check for a new bar, and then based on a new bar, you would check, right? That's why we are always checking on the the values. So now in this case, it will check this two counts will be for each tick because we're in our one tick function. But nonetheless, we're just checking very basically on how to use the ADX. Okay, now we can open our chart and let's run our tester. So we'll go to our code to code folder. Oh, we have to refresh. Right, refresh here, and then there it is, go to code ADX, and then we just want to check it on our SGP 200, right? And yeah, let's run this. Right. So unfortunately, as you can see, it's creating all these trades, and because the trade values are so close to each other, we just had a number of losses, as you can see. Right, we had a number of losses here, but yeah, you can actually close a lot of these positions and we'll have a lot more. Yeah, something else we can do here is just to check or maybe set a minimum number of trades. So let's stop. So because we're being overwhelmed with all of these trades, okay, so here we're first going to check the number of trades we're currently in. We're going to say if number of trades positions total, right, is greater than number of trades, we will return. That should be the case. So now we have to create this as a global variable. This is a built-in function that just checks the total number of trades that are currently open, and then we only want to see how many trades we currently have running. If they are more than the ones we set, then our program will just skip until the other trades are closed, and then it will enter. Okay, so we're gonna set this one to input int number of trades. Let's say 4. Right, we only want to have 4 trades running simultaneously, and we're gonna compile that, 0 errors, and then we're going to run this again. Right, okay, so there you have it. And I guess we're having a kind of profitable EA, right? Kind of. Well, it needs a lot more tweaking and a few more parameters to be set, and then you'll have a very good EA. Thank you for joining me. If you have any questions, let me know, and hopefully we'll have more episodes coming soon. Okay, guys. So one thing I forgot to add in the video also was I mean, once I copied this portion, right? I always change the condition to check for a sell signal, right? Now, on top of that, we also need to change the bit to, I mean, the SL to plus, and then the TP to minus, right? So what we are looking for is the sell stop should be above because we're going lower, and then the TP should be below, right? Because we're going lower. And then we are entering a sell trade, not a buy trade, right? The rest stays the same apart from the comment, right? Initially we said buy, now we're saying sell. Yeah, and then basically that does it. One other thing that I added, apologies, was checking for a new bar. Okay, so last time we only checked for positions, right? Now we also want to check for a new bar. So we initially have our new bar variable, which we check against our current time frame, and then we also check for the total number of bars, which is a very global variable we included here, right? And then we just see is our total number of variables not equal to bars, then we say no, right? We enter in, then we just update that variable to the total number of bars, and then we continue doing our checks and executing our code. Okay, no errors. And okay, for some reason I closed my my right, and then we can run our uh, what our test. So now it'll only run up to 4 trades when the condition is met. Right? So as you can see, this condition now is a bit more strict, and the conditions are not so easily met. Obviously, this is considered a high time frame, a 1 hour time frame. If you would use this on a much lower time frame, you could have a lot more trades, but obviously you will be open to a lot more false signals. So ideally, you want to work on high time frames, and then you can tweak your conditions if you want, or you can use symbols or instruments, right, or assets like your currency pairs that are a bit more volatile, like your gold, your silver, right? Um, and then that would most likely give you more signals. But that's basically it. That's how you implement the ADX.